So good afternoon. My name is Firas. I am a lead data scientist and deputy head of data science services within Allianz Technology. Allianz Technology is the tech operating entity in Allianz Group, which aims to serve all Allianz customers. What I mean by Allianz customers, let's say the B2B, so Allianz France, Allianz Germany, Allianz UK, Allianz Africa, Allianz Australia, etc. We have more than 30 operating entities within Allianz. I was thinking, how can I start my presentation and making more interactive? So when we speak about AI, and now let's say with the buzzword ChatGPT, how AI can be key player in the customer satisfactions level. And for that, I wanted to ask it ChatGPT yesterday about, I would like to have, for example, funny example about ChatGPT in order to improve the customer experience for my presentation in the World-Class Business Leaders, Digital Transformation and Innovation 2023. This is the example. I'm not going to read all the, let's say, the answer, but he said, sure, here's a funny example. Imagine a customer is having a frustrating experience with a company customer service or product. They are on hold for a long time, and when they finally speak to the representative or agent, they were passed from one person to another without getting any answers to their questions. I faced many times this kind of situations. But then the ChatGPT came to save the day. The customer is directed to the company website where ChatGPT is available to answer all these questions, etc. And you know, for example, what ChatGPT is going to say. And at the end, I was telling him, why you didn't tell me good luck about my participations in the World-Class Business Leaders, blah, 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 disappointed. And here the ChatGPT was saying, and this will be actually quite interesting, let's say, a highlight for my presentations later. So yeah, I apologize for not wishing you good luck for your presentation, participation, blah, blah, blah. As a language, AI language model, I don't have emotions or personal feeling, but I'm programmed to provide helpful and informative response to your questions. Nevertheless, I wish you all the best in my presentation, and I hope that is going to be a great success. Good luck for me. Good, so I'm going to save this part in the last section of my PPT. And now I would like to speak in general about artificial intelligence projects, including in Allianz, in any corporate, also in small, let's say medium size, the life cycle requirements and challenges. I will start with the life cycle. So usually when the customer is approaching us, and I'm speaking now about B2B, so we speak about many keywords: idea, POC, POV, MVP, prototype, product, pilot. I hope there is no other, but I think there is alpha, beta, blah, blah, blah. So just a brief explanations about, let's say, the different keywords, because those are needed later on to develop, let's say, service for the customer experience. So idea in AI, it's a general concept which came to my mind, or to any mind of person, to create a new service or to improve an existing service. So I don't need to invest money, so the customer will be happy. There is no data issues, no infrastructures, no talents or team to implement the solution. And the impact, of course, at the idea stage can be, of course, kind of utopic or in the imagination. The proof of concept or a POC, okay, here the customer is willing to invest between, for example, 10,000 euros until 500,000 euros when he would like to test this kind of concept. So the POC phase is to make this concept work. So here, of course, we need to invest money. We need to check, for example, data, but we are not going to deep dive into the quality of data. CSV file will be sufficient and efficient in this case. We don't need to care about infrastructure, talents, team, and of course, the impact. The proof of value or POV. Okay, so we made this concept workable with the POC, but now we are going to compute its value. And that's why here the impact it's needed in order to share this kind of concept into the stakeholders, including the customer and of course the management. Okay, if all it's approved, so we can proceed with a minimum value product or MVP, when of course we have the full list of items here except after the implementation of the model and also the stability of the model. The product in AI. So, okay, here we have all the phase, but still, let's say the improvement not discussed yet with the customer. And of course, later on, we are going to speak about different versions, alpha, beta, blah, 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 until we have, and of course, arrange, let's say the product to meet the customer requirements, which is always, let's say, evolving. I'm not going to speak about AI project lifecycle. I think you are quite aware of it. So usually we start in any, as I said, company with business requirements from the customer. So we sit together, what you like to solve, what are, let's say, the solution that you propose, how we are going to measure our success, etc. So here we define the goal and the KPIs. Then we go with first, okay, what kind of data you have? Oh, I have some Excel files, okay? Or I have, for example, database or something, for example, kind of sophisticated. So we validate the data requirements, the data collection. So we collect the data, for example, through different channels. We start as a data science, let's say, team to work on the analyzing, let's say, the different features or the different variables within this variable, within this data. We proceed with the model implementation, in which we englobe the feature engineering, model implementation, and model evaluation. I can skip them because they are more technical. And of course, the moment of truth, when you're going to measure the, let's say, the performance of our model, and of course, see if the customer is happy with the outcome. And then, of course, we can have an overview about the project. And yeah, here the customer will ask either to proceed or to decommission from this kind of stage, POC, MVP, etc. So, what are the challenges when we are implementing artificial intelligence project? So, nearly blah 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 percentage of artificial intelligence projects fail, and unfortunately, the number is huge. In any company with medium, small, large size, we have more than 90% of our artificial intelligence projects fail. Let's inspect why those AI projects have been failing, and they will be failed, for example, for the new one. First, there is no motivation from the customer, from the management, also from the colleagues, for example, from the talents to continue for several reasons. Of course, the poor data quality in the beginning, that could be kind of a huge issue to stop, let's say, the implementation and go further with the AI project. No clear goals and KPIs, and this is very important. If you are not speaking with your customer from the beginning about what are you solving and how can I measure that this project is successful or not, this, for example, could be a big reason behind the failure of an AI project. Because, okay, so I implement a chatbot, but what are the KPIs that we can say this project is successful or not? Is it about the NPS score, let's say the happiness of the customer? Is it about the timing of resolution of requests, etc.? And this should be from the beginning quite defined to make the AI project successful to the customers. We have, of course, the lack of trust from, let's say, from the customers, for example, who are still need kind of a human intelligence in addition to the AI output. Expensive infrastructure, because when you are speaking about AI, it's super expensive. We need to care about the money, about the team, about the infrastructure, etc. Poor model performance came as well. So after, let's say, several times, the customer is, let's say, discovering that the performance of the model has been decreased. And here he has, let's say, the choice to, for example, to stop and decommission from the AI project. Plus, of course, the lack of talents in any AI, in any company, for example, who can implement the solutions, and no collaborations between teams, mainly speaking about data science and data engineering and, for example, other actors that could be behind the implementation of the AI project. Let's see what are the requirements needed to implement sustainable artificial intelligence project. The big bubble is about motivation. Motivation should come first from the management, second from the team who is implementing the solution, and third from the customer. Then, of course, the data quality is our oil in order to proceed with any successful AI project, and also we can invest, let's say, a huge bucket of money on improving the quality of the data, for example, such as the entity resolution, such as, for example, amputations, in order to make, let's say, our data from the legacy IMN kind of convenient and with the good data quality. Infrastructure, trust, collaboration within team, and very, very important, let's say, bubble, which is about ethical and let's say responsible AI implementation. And I'm going to come back to this point in let's say one of the slides after, because it's very important, and especially now we have a new AI GDPR, which is called EU AI Act, which aims to assess any AI solutions in any company in the future to meet certain, let's say, requirements such as explainability, fairness, and non-discrimination. Now we move on to the importance of the customer satisfaction in any business. When I ask, for example, any customer, of course, I get the three, let's say, points: fair price or cheap price, or, for example, let's say, free solution, good service, and feel valued. The customer is feeling that he's valued within the chain or within, for example, the implementation of the AI project. So how, or what are the benefits and the importance of the customer satisfaction in any business? Of course, let's say all of them are quite obvious to any, let's say, company. First is reduce the customer churn, decreasing the negative word of mouth, because this is, let's say, usually the easiest benefits or the easiest instructions to destroy any business and any, for example, impact of AI solutions. So if the customer is telling to another customer, oh, I have very bad experience with Firas team, for example, on this kind of AI solution, for sure this is going to destroy immediately all your effort of sales and investment that you did in order to, for example, to convince about your solution. Retaining customers is cost effective, for sure. If I'm retaining the same customers, this is also quite good for me as a company in order to reduce my cost, because of course, if I'm going to solve all this kind of compliance and issues that they could raise, this of course costs money for the company. Get repeat business. Of course, it's very good to get always repeated business, and plus, of course, innovate. Let's say innovating and investment on innovative and new projects, and differentiate from the competitions, which is one of the very important benefit of the customer satisfaction in any business. The customer satisfaction can be measured via KPIs. I think you all do this. So via the surveys, or via Net Promoter Score, online reviews, for example, for retail, such as retail, let's say, industry, customer feedback, when you have like the one-to-one, or for example, customer checks with them on the daily and the periodical, let's say, basis, not daily, and customer retention rate. So this is the very important KPI, that how long the customer can still stay with you, and how he's, for example, happy with to continue with you on this project. How artificial intelligence can improve customer satisfaction levels. First, personalization, recommendation, and customization. So here I'm going to mainly detail some of those instructions with some examples. So the AI can improve the customer satisfaction levels on via different areas. First, the personalizations. The AI can help a lot of customers in order to understand first the requirements, re-understand once again the requirements, and implement what they were really needed for them on the daily basis. And here, let's say what I mean mainly by the personalization. Speed, efficiency, and especially automation. I can give an example from Allianz. For example, Allianz, we are number one, let's say, in the insurance and the investment management in the world. And mainly, for example, from the insurance perspective, automation has really been our key competitive advantage versus our competitors, because we are, for example, paying our customers quite fast. And if the customer is waiting several months to get his reimbursement back, He's not going to stay with you. And this is a good advantage for us in order to keep, let's say, the customers. So here we have the case of claims automation, for example, when the claim or where the policyholder can submit claim with all the informations, with all the different, let's say, invoices, reports. And we are activating more than 15 AI models that they are working on the same time in order to say if we can pay this customer or we need to wait and bring it to Sherlock Holmes, who is our friend investigators all over the world, to see if this claim is suspicious, or we are going to reduce a little bit the cost of let's say, the claim request amount. So, for example, speaking about the AI models, for example, we have for claims automation, so we have one model which is checking if all the structured data about the customer, about the vehicle, for example, about the contract are non-suspicious or completely fine. We have one model for OCR extraction when we have a text, or for example, when you have images and emails or chat, for example, on WhatsApp. So we can parse this document and bring it into structured data. We have another model to see or extract all the named entity within a text and see, for example, if the policyholder was involved in suspicious activities before, or if the IBAN is, for example, involved in suspicious activities before. We have another model, for example, which is checking documents. If, for example, the picture has been taken before the incident date, so we call it forensics. If there is a copy-paste, or we call it in data science slicing of the picture, etc., etc. I'm not going to speak about the 15, let's say, models, but here I named some models regarding the automation. 24/7 availability and assistance. Of course, we have now in Allianz our conversational AI, which called it's kind of chatbot, which aims to answer and also to submit any claim on real time. And then we don't need to interact once again with the customer, so we don't need to come to our agency to fill in the claim. So here, all the information, all the documents can be collected by our chatbot, for example, in order to provide kernel assistance. And if, for example, there is kind of problem with his car or accident, so here he can call the voice bot, he can orient him to the, let's say, the closest repair shop, for example, or he can call the closest rent car agency in order to send a car in his place, etc. Of course, internally, as a data scientist or as an employee within Allianz, of course, we have an assistance on our issues on the daily basis. For example, if I have problem with my email every day, if, for example, the WebEx or Teams is not working, or for example, if there is a problem with any kind of let's say, specifications in my daily work. So here I can call our voice bot in order to help me resolve the problem, and also, for example, here orient me, for example, to the base agent. Of course, here with a certain complexity, because it depends on the query. Speaking about email, Teams, or WebEx, for example, issues, or for example, to fill in a kind of business script, like for example now, those kind of repetitive issues. So here the chatbot will be very easy to retrain, and also very easy that he can give accurate recommendations. Some complex, let's say, demands, here the human interventions is completely needed. Predictive analytics. Predictive analytics, it's very important, of course, in order to understand the customer behavior. And also the customer need. For example, speaking about not only, let's say, in the case of insurance, or for example, I can stay with the insurance industry. So here we can understand what are the needs, for example, of the customer in specific area. If they would like to have, for example, premium with corresponding advantages, or for example, for certain companies, like we are dealing with many companies, for example, and many corporates who are having travel insurance with us. So here we can understand, let's say, the frequency of travel, how big this company. So we have kind of analytics before about how this, let's say, the customer would behave. The same, for example, for we spoke about telematics data. For example, if we have telematics devices on the vehicles, when we can measure the acceleration of the vehicles, when we can interpret, let's say, the behavior of the driver, also in case of accident. For example, I can see who is the guilty between, for example, in case of crash between two cars. So there's a lot of applications that we can use, or scenarios, sorry, in which we can use predictive analytics in order to understand more the behavior of the customer and especially his need, and provide also recommendations or personalized recommendations for his need. Some examples of how AI can improve customer satisfaction levels. So I mentioned chatbot and virtual assistants. So here, let's say on assistance on 24/7 for our customers, and also, for example, the internal employees and the colleagues of Allianz all over the world. Recommendations engine, such as, for example, Netflix, Uber, also in Allianz, for example, when we have a certain products, so we can match the need of the person, of the policyholder, sorry, when here the engine can suggest and recommend best services based on his location, based on his preferences, based on his, for example, interaction within the tool, etc. Sentiment analysis. So here we have also, for example, on the reviews or the comments, for example, Twitters, on Facebook, on Google review, for example, if we can understand, okay, what are the problems via, for example, the keywords that the customer is involving, or, for example, oh, I didn't receive, I'm still waiting time, for example, for the reimbursement, or there's a problem with a certain agency in some cities, for example, in Munich or in Stuttgart or in Frankfurt. So here we can understand, okay, what's going on there, and we can, of course, interact and provide the recommendations for our customers in order to address the customer concerns. Same like predictive analytics, I'm not going to repeat it, but here as well we have many applications. Also, for example, coming from the data science service team, we are working on the fraud fighting, on the fraud detection, for example, and here we can predict if the claim is suspicious or not, and also sometimes we can predict if the claim is going to happen or not. What I mean by if the claim is going to happen or not. So, for example, we have Richard, who is 31 years old. He has a car. And using, for example, the weather data and the telematics data, for example, on his car, and using, for example, other information or the location, so we can predict before 2-3 days that a hail will happen, for example, in Munich. And here we can send to Richard, please, for example, put your car in a very safe place. Or in case, for example, in Allianz US Life, for example, with the NatCat or hurricanes, or, for example, any kind of natural catastrophe events. So we have a kind of estimation about let's say, the weather data, and also the complexity of the buildings, how close they are, for example, to the sea, or to, for example, hotspot, we call them. So here we can send an information, Richard, please leave home before, for example, 3 days, put and bring with you the most expensive, let's say, items, and also, for example, put other items in upper, let's say, level. So here, either we completely prevent the claim before it's happening, or we reduce and mitigate the exposure from this cost. So this is, for example, the importance of the predictive analytics. And here, Richard is always feeling himself like a valued person within let's say, the insurance premium. Challenges when AI try to improve customer satisfaction level. Yes, data. So any AI projects is relying on general truth, is learning from your history. In insurance, yes, we are learning from claims data. Sorry. From claims data. For example, in banking, for example, in terms of loan application, of course, they are learning from previous application. So in any domain, also in healthcare or in education, so we are always learning from history. And if the history is not completely, let's say, viewed with all the parameters, this will impact the challenges, this will impact the performance of your AI model, and this can decrease the level and the customer satisfaction, because you're providing him a wrong prediction for example, of if Richard, for example, he's living in Munich, and we are going to say, oh, Richard, there is a hurricane, but how it's come? So, for example, this kind of prediction, because this cannot fit, because there is no, for example, kind of, sorry, it's a kind of stupid example, but just to show you the direction here. So here, if there is kind of mistake in the prediction or recommendation, can completely decrease the customer satisfaction, what they are doing, what kind of service they are providing me. Same also, the data can be biased. Let's say if in our models, they are going to say, oh, if this person is living in Munich, oh, every person is living in Munich is Froster, for example, because maybe we didn't have total observation. So this could be, for example, biased towards specific social class, or we don't have many representations of this, for example, location, or this person, or this category of persons, of products. Then we are going to provide the wrong recommendation, and we are going to provide the wrong prediction. Lack of a human touch. Some customers, also honestly, with our application, with the chatbot or with conversational AI, yeah, so here they still don't like to interact with AI chatbot. They hear some robot speaking. Of course, for the authentication, he needs to enter many times, for example, the information about his contract and his number. He's still not interacted with a human agent, and sometimes he's getting, let's say, a kind of upset with the service, or with the quality of the service within the AI, let's say, product. And here, unfortunately, some customers, they don't like to interact with AI, for example, solutions, and they prefer the human touch. The same, for example, for the fraud fighting. If we are going to provide to our customers, let's say customers are Sherlock Holmes, so the fraud expert, the fraud investigators. Look, this claim is suspicious, and it has a score of 0.67. Okay, then he's going to see the claim, and he will not find easily suspicious patterns. So here, he's still going to join his forces or the human intelligence in order to make, of course, this kind of, for example, either claim suspicious or not. And here, the lack of a human touch, unfortunately, kind of challenge that we are facing in order to improve the customer satisfaction level. Over-reliance on automation. Let's say here, speaking also related to the second point and the first point. Speaking also before with Max and the second Max from Big Picture. Yeah, Big Picture, exactly, about the automation. Yes. We are, for example, in Allianz, we are satisfied with the automation level that we have, but only for example, in the context of the claims management, in the context of the simple claims. For example, oh, this was traveling, for example, or have a travel cancellation, and the claim request amount is only 200 euros or 50 euros, for example. But with the complex claims, such as MTPL, let's say crash between two cars, and, for example, NatCat events, we are going to, let's say here, we need to reduce the automation process because it's not, let's say, evident for our case. I need to be fast, Simon? Yeah, sure. Okay, quickly. So, yes, difficulty in interpreting human emotions and especially understanding the context. I think you already showed the example from ChatGPT. That's why I bring it here as well. So when I asked ChatGPT about that I'm participating today in this conference, he didn't say to me, for example, good luck. And I was asking him why he didn't, for example, say to me good luck. And I'm very super disappointed. He said, oh, sorry, we are kind of, let's say, AI implementation without any emotion or without any, for example, understanding the context. So here, for example, some of the, this is one of the challenges that we have seen in all the applications, including also large language models such as ChatGPT or, for example, other, let's say, for example, solutions. Privacy concerns and ethical considerations, since we need to gain time, so I'm going to combine those 2 points into one point, which is EU AI Act. So now in the Commission, European Commissions, there's an ongoing discussion, I think by the November, December this year. There will be the first release of the AI EU Act. You can also consult, let's say, all the, let's say, the articles in this law. And here we need to, of course, especially I'm addressing these questions to all let's say, the companies who have AI solutions in European Union. So our AI model should be assessed in order to be, of course, respecting this new European GDPR, which is EU AI Act. Because EU AI Act is aiming to ensure that all our applications are fair, not discriminative, respecting the, let's say, the process and the umbrella of the data privacy, of course, explainable, so not a black box. So if I'm going to say, oh, this customer has a score of 0.97, means that I'm not going to provide him a loan, or I'm going to have, for example, high pricing in his insurance, for example, let's say for his house. So here I need to provide to the agent by law now, of course, why the AI model was thinking like this. So here the 2 points is mainly, let's say, the data privacy, because of course we need to work with anonymized data, and we need to take care of that our model are fair, explainable, and sustainable. Thank you very much for your attention, and
Thank you for that.
yeah, happy to answer all the questions in the table round later.